And I said, well, my friend Max Brooks, because I know he does his homework.
Okay.
I know he gave me an order
Right.
to be a really good reading
Okay.
order
Okay.
versus some people that just give orders for the fun of
Right, just to give it.
giving.
Yes, yes, yes.
But he had an excellent education, as he says, you know, the real issue. In fact, with Martin Luther King, when he was talking about how eventually he would like to see that everyone accepts one another for the content of their character. Well, I find racism tends to be less of an issue, and for lack of a better term, you could say educationism. People have a certain level of education tends to cling together more than the racial boundaries.
I agree.
And, if you have people who went to Princeton, whether they're black or Asian or Euro-Americans or any combination thereof, they have a unity with those who dropped out of high school. I mean, their ability to relate to those who dropped out of high school is just, there's a barrier there.
Okay.
On the other hand, between those who dropped out of high school, they feel more at ease with one another than they do
With the people who are
with the people who have
successful.
successful.
Right.
And I got St. Peter's, where St. Peter's is very mixed. And a lot of people, we have a lot of foreign students because the UN is in that Fort Wayne, and the parents decided to live in New Jersey, and the father would commute back and forth to the UN with the kids. They want a good school for the kids for the next 4 years. So they send them to St. Peter's, but we found that the parents at St. Peter's, no matter what their income class was, no matter what their ethnic or racial background was, they all chose to send their kids to St. Peter's for the same reason. They wanted a value education in which not only are they good at math and literature, but also understand the theological aspects of life. And because the parents had the same goals for their kids, the parents were very united. So you could have one parent maybe making $30,000 a year. The other parent could be making $300,000 a year. And yet they had a bond which was stronger than the bonds that most of them have with their neighbors who were in the same neighborhood, same income bracket, but had different hopes and dreams for the kids.
Yeah, well, let me just introduce what we're doing. I'm Herb Glenn, and I'm here with two distinguished gentlemen. Rahman Muhammad, who is a film producer and a developer, and someone who is actively involved in community services, and Mr. Robert Schindler, who is an activist, businessman both, involved with showing some new disciplines in regard to how we need to change the paradigm of disparity, especially in the communities that need to understand clearly enough the importance of why reform is necessary when it comes to our attitude and our habits. Now, knowing from both of you, you're both from diverse environments and your lifestyles, but you're both businessmen. And I can understand clearly where the effect of how your ability to unite on this common issue really does show the significance of how important the revolution of reform really should be in our communities. Jeff, you and I have been working pretty diligently in regard to education reform. And on this day, I'm going to date it, is the date that the new governor is actually being sworn in. What do you think would be the effects of the changes in policy that he has indicated that he is going to be interested in promoting as he go forward for the next 4 years?
Well, I was listening to his address, and the concept of an ongoing failing school, he finds to be unacceptable. If a school is failing the kids, it's absolutely beyond question that the parent needs to have the ability to send their child to a good school. And that has very noble sounding aspirations, but the economic fact of life is that it's also economically very sound, because any parent that feels that life is hopeless and that the situation of the child is hopeless, well, you know, that's a very depressing reality to wake up to morning after morning after morning. On the other hand, if every morning you wake up knowing that your child is going to have opportunities that you never even dreamt of, that gives you the incentive to work, it gives you the incentive to motivate the child. If they get a job, the parent wants to do better in the job now, because now the parent is setting an example of what can be accomplished to the child, and also wants to bring more home to the child, because now the parents think that they can invest in the child, and the child has a future. And that's just good news for the economy.
Now, looking at it from this perspective of how that kind of message has been brought across, do you think it's sincere?
I think it's sincere, but as like most trials in life, we should try to identify the root of the problem. And as Jeff mentioned here, which I think was very profound and was running through my head also, is that he mentioned parenting, you know, the skills of a parent, the opportunities of parents. And in our urban areas and even in some of the middle-class neighborhoods, most of the problems that we might find with education, it stems from the parents. Because if you look in some of our urban neighborhoods, symbolically what happens is the streets become the parents. So I say that to mean this, that because the parents don't have the opportunity in terms of education, because knowledge is so important, what you might find today is that the parents today allow the streets to become the parent. They back away from that responsibility because they don't have the knowledge. They didn't have the opportunity to go to school. So what we see today is that the kids are going out into the streets, and how are they being educated? It's from the streets. You know, are they learning math? Their math is being based on how they're participating in illegal activities. They do that well when it comes to that part. And then who becomes the father? You know, the father becomes the judge. So the mother is the streets, and they're starting to raise our children now. And then the parent, the person who chastises, traditionally in a home, the mother should be the first teacher of the child. Traditionally in home, the father should be the one that steers in the right direction, should be the one that be able to advocate what's right or what's wrong, to punish. But what's happening today is in our society, because of that, not having that opportunity of knowledge and education, the judge becomes the father.
And it seems as if in many aspects, the direction that we're sending the kids is basically to institutional learning. If we're depending on institutional learning, isn't there a way in which we can be able to design a purpose in regard to finding a way in which it will help develop the child in a positive way? In essence, what I'm saying is that in the past, one of the reasons why there was an argument of prayer in the schools was because of there being so many different types of religions. Now I'm listening, you know, like people of the Islamic religion is not really against prayer. People of the Jewish religion are not against prayer. Obviously, people of the, you know, Christian religion have no objection against prayer. Is it really a purpose to say that bringing moral conduct of purpose in the lifestyles of education would help build it to a potential where we can say that institutionalization can be effective?